Okay, once more into the fray with Vivipary. Is it before they're supposed to, or is it just inconvenient? How do you think apple trees reproduced before humans took the seeds from them in the apple? As the apple rotted, I think the rest of this says the seeds germinated, and while I very much don't appreciate your tone here, this is actually an interesting talking point about the purpose of fruit, so let's get into it. Why does a plant make fruit, right? It's expensive for the plant. It costs a lot of sugar resources, nutrient resources, water resources, and time. Well, the long and short of it is the fruit is there to, one, protect the seeds until they can germinate and make the next generation of plant, and two, to be an agent of dissemination so the seeds end up where they're supposed to. And while no, the plant is not making that specifically for us as humans, they are making it for some animal to go out and spread that seed. At least in the case of a fleshy fruit like apples or tomatoes or most of the other things we think of as fruits. Because if the fruits just drop off and they hit the ground and that apple or that tomato or whatever rots and the seeds all just germinate right there, they're competing directly with the parent plant. The next generation is going to be shaded out. It's not going to have enough resources, enough space to grow. It won't have enough sunlight, water, all the other things it needs. So the strategy here is that that fruit gets eaten by something, taken somewhere else, passed through the digestive system of that animal or just dropped on the ground, and the seed will germinate and the next generation of plants can grow in a relatively low competition environment. And yes, there are other plants around for them to compete with, but they're not necessarily competing for the exact same resources as multiple plants within the same species would be. And it's more complicated than this, and there are plants that are totally fine with the next generation germinating right there, but often they are legumes, so they can create additional resources by fixing nitrogen and things like that, and there is enough for a lot of those next generations to have as they grow and develop. But even in legumes, that's not always the case. So in a situation like this, where we have vivipary and all the seeds are germinating inside the tomato, no, that is not ideal. It is not just inconvenient for the things trying to eat the fruit, it's inconvenient for the plant itself. The idea here is that this is picked up, taken somewhere else, and no, not necessarily by humans, but by something, so that the seeds can germinate elsewhere. And while yes, maybe there are some nutrients contained in the fruit that could help that developing little plant, this is also a breeding ground for fungal diseases, bacterial diseases, other kinds of rot, and herbivory. As these develop, if something else comes by and eats it, once those seeds are already germinated, that little plant dies. Where the seed itself from all of these varieties of fruits may be able to pass safely through the digestive system of that animal. So how do I think that apples germinated before humans came and took seeds out of them? You're right, we probably didn't for a very, very, very long time. There were apples long before us, but something did. Something did move that apple and chew it up and pass the seed, and that's how it germinated.